Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Elliot Cooperstone, Managing Partner of InTandem Capital, and I'm joined by Senior Partner Brad Coppens, our partner Chris Reef, who's been recently serving as the acting CEO of Vivo Infusion, and also Jen Betz, Head of HR at Vivo. In March of 2022, InTandem Capital launched Private Equity for Greater Good, the vehicle for our commitment to distribute 5% of gains from InTandem Capital investments to all employees of portfolio companies that don't otherwise participate in the equity. Private Equity for Greater Good is in part an outgrowth of the recognition that US wealth inequality is large and growing. In 2019, the top 10% of American families own 71% of American wealth, up from 62% in 1989. While the bottom 50% dropped from 4% to 2% over the same period. What drives the difference in wealth between the top 10% and the bottom 50% is equity ownership, both directly and through pensions. The top 10% of Americans by wealth own 89% of equities and mutual fund shares, and the top 1% alone owns over half. Half of US households, the other half, have virtually no liquid safety net. Private Equity for Greater Good was inspired by the prior and ongoing efforts of Bob Patricelli, InTandem Capital's strategic advisor and healthcare industry veteran. Bob is a successful healthcare entrepreneur and executive and has maintained an active interest in public policy since his days working on US Senate staff and in senior positions in the Nixon and Ford administrations earlier in his career. Bob worked with Congressman John Larson, Democrat of Connecticut, as the lead sponsor in 2021 of the Share Plan Act. Share stands for Shareholder Allocation of Rewards to Employees. That act is aimed at incentivizing public companies to broaden employee ownership of their stock. Since its introduction, the bill has been modified to reflect many suggestions, and the current version can be found at shareplanact.com. Bob's interest in developing tax policy directed to publicly held companies that would be effective in addressing the growing income and wealth gaps in the US prompted our exploration of tools for privately held companies, and in particular, private equity sponsored ones. Private Equity for Greater Good is a program born from that exploration that enables the private equity industry to fulfill an obligation to address income inequality. The program is also meant to establish a new and more equitable standard for management equity plan design that would ensure investment gains are shared not just among management shareholders, but rather among all employees that contribute to the success of their company. Traditional incentive equity programs in private equity sponsored companies limit distribution of equity or equity-like instruments to the executive team and to those who executive management believes will understand their value and be motivated by the awards. That practice is often run contrary to the principle of sharing wealth with those who help create it, as success could never be achieved without the contributions of non-management staff. A lack of familiarity with equity programs has been viewed as acceptable justification to exclude members of the broader team from participating in the distribution of the wealth that they helped create. Fundamentally, the understanding of or familiarity with a source of value should not govern a just claim to it. Finally, in terms of design principles, we believe that Private Equity for Greater Good will prove to be highly accretive to returns. We believe the program will be a positive influence on our company's ability to recruit, engage, and retain team members. And we believe that our fortified teams will outperform the alternative by more than the cost of the dilution created by Private Equity for Greater Good. The program is now a feature in how we engage with team members in every one of our portfolio companies and will remain so going forward. Even beyond our portfolio, we envisioned Private Equity for Greater Good as an industry-wide effort. We are obviously well aware of Ownership Works, sponsored by KKR, Ownership Works is naturally focused on larger employer groups. Private equity for greater good is available to middle market investors who focus on small to mid-sized firms. It is a simple, pragmatic, executable plan for an important objective: to distribute a portion of investment gains derived from investments in portfolio companies to the employees of those companies who do not already participate in an equity plan, so that every team member feels ownership in the collective mission and is ultimately fairly rewarded for the value they help create. Brad, would you please describe the detail of how the program works in general, and more specifically in our portfolio?
Thanks, Elliot. The Private Equity for Greater Good program was founded with simplicity in mind. While there may be variations in program implementation to meet a company's unique circumstances, the program has but just a few important guiding principles. First, eligibility. As previously mentioned, Private Equity for Greater Good was meant to share value with all of those who contribute to its creation. Ineligible are those who already have access to those benefits, such as shareholders, board directors, senior executive leadership, and other recipients of equity incentive programs, whether they be structured as options, RSUs, PIUs, or any other similar instrument. Eligible employees are, well, everyone else. Any full-time employee, and in some circumstances, part-time or per diem employee of the company, is eligible to participate. The senior manager just passed over for an option award. The friendly receptionist that greets patients at a clinic in Texas, or the nurse practitioner who spends her days seeing elderly patients in their homes. The second guiding principle relates to program sizing. For middle market healthcare services companies, those in which InTandem exclusively invests, 5% of the aggregate shareholder gain on investment during the term of InTandem's holding period provided an appropriately sized pool to provide eligible employees with a meaningful opportunity. In sizing the program, InTandem surveyed companies in our own portfolio, as well as external companies. However, we acknowledge that companies differ greatly in terms of size, capitalization, labor force, turnover, and the like, so specific circumstances may dictate a smaller or larger pool to accomplish the same objective. At InTandem, we think a good rule of thumb is to target one-time salary for the average program participant at the base case return level of an investment. The third meaningful guiding principle relates to program award accrual and award timing. It is important that the program be elegant in its simplicity. We, therefore, simply use tenure as our measure. Eligible employees generally don't control their title, salary, or the work that they are asked to perform. However, they control the quality of their work and the number of days at the company that they dedicate to their work. Our program rewards that contribution. Each day at work, no matter what the work, is a service day. And for every service day earned, a larger and larger share of the Private Equity for Greater Good pool is earned as well. Finally, during any transaction that results in shareholder liquidity, a dividend recapitalization, or the sale of the company, program participants receive 5% of that liquidity event. 5% is applied to the realized shareholder gain experienced during the liquidity event. Aggregate service days for all eligible employees that were employed at the time of the liquidity event are counted, and the value of one service day is thus determined. From there, with great joy, fanfare, and pride, the company and its shareholders start writing checks. It's important to note that these events aren't unveiled at the end of a job well done, nor is a surprise, however dramatic, the desired result. At the end of the day, Private Equity for Greater Good was envisioned as an incentive program, but one with a better design. Employees are educated on the terms of the program and its existence up front, so that they can understand what will build alongside their tenure with the company. Periodic program updates are given, and employees who are less financially literate are provided with opportunities to learn about equity and, importantly, how company operational metrics and KPIs are linked to equity value creation. The result is a more comprehensive incentive program that reaches company-wide and a workforce that feels like they have skin in the game. Greater employee engagement, productivity, retention, and a better, more inclusive culture are the results. The elusive owner mentality that all shareholders and senior executives try desperately to instill. One of our more enthusiastic supporters of the program is our own Chris Reef, until recently CEO of Vivo Infusion. Chris, please share with everyone all that you do to use the program across Vivo.
Happy to. Thanks, Brad. We were so thrilled to launch PE for GG, what is affectionately called around Vivo. As Brad mentioned, when we're building a mission-based business like Vivo, it takes everyone pulling together as partners. PE for GG makes everyone a partner in the business on day one. We speak to each other as partners, and the reality is that we are all partners in all respects of the business. When we first introduced the program and the potential economics, the people were literally in tears, recognizing that this could be a life-altering event. Given that it is a new concept for most of our employees, it is critical that we communicate about the value and the benefit consistently. We do this through one-to-one meetings with each individual employee, as well as a quarterly town hall where we update everyone on the estimated value based upon their start date. Further, now it's just a part of our culture. We speak to each other as partners. We encourage an ownership mentality in every aspect of everything that we do. We update everyone on the potential individual payout based upon the current day estimated value of Vivo. For example, we just completed our third quarter town hall. Vivo started in January of 2022. For those employees that have been with Vivo since day one, the estimated current value is nearly $90,000 per person. For those employees that started a year later in Q2, slightly after Q2 of 2023, it's estimated at $41,000 per person. It is real, it is life-altering, it's true value creation, it is inspiring. I'll turn it over to Jen Betz, VP of HR at Vivo, to provide a more granular view from our employee perspective and implementation recommendations. Jen?
Thank you, Chris. The PE for GG program is widely embraced by our people. It is a fundamental part of the overall total compensation picture, and our people understand that. We talk to them about this benefit at the time of the job offer, and then we echo it in more detail in the onboarding experience and their orientation. As Chris mentioned, we also talk about it in our weekly one-on-ones and in our quarterly town halls. We want our people to understand what we mean by it and how they are partners in our business. We've come to the point in our culture where people talk about this with each other. They ask about the value of the organization and where we stand. They understand their actions every day build value, and this value is shared with them. They see this as an investment the company is making in them, and not one of our people at this point in time has ever experienced anything like this. Our people feel appreciated and valued. PE for GG demonstrates appreciation to those who are at the grassroots level, performing the work and moving the needle for our business. Our people evangelize this program. They tell their friends and their family about it. It's inspirational. It isn't just HR that talks about the benefits of this program. There are real examples of frontline employees who talk to coworkers about maybe leaving for more money. Their coworkers talk to them about the value of PE for GG and what they would be sacrificing if they did leave. Employees watch their value and they see it as their own investment, even though the only thing it cost them is their time with Vivo. There have been employees who have been approached by competitors with the promise of higher wages, and our people know that basic wages are just a small fraction of the big picture. They also know the bonus is another component of their compensation. It is the PE for GG that has real staying power. They look at what their piece of the pie is. They look at the earnings for those who have been here since day one. They want to keep growing their piece of the pie. They know that no one else is doing this. They do not want to sacrifice their nest egg that has been created. There's also a real cost to turnover, so leveraging PE for GG as part of our retention strategy works. At Vivo, our turnover has been low, and we attribute that to the ownership feel that PE for GG supports. Turnover has real cost, both direct, roughly $30,000 to $40,000, and indirect with time and emotion. PE for GG is part of our culture. It demonstrates that people bring real value to the organization, and the organization rewards this.
Thank you, Jen. I hope that our enthusiasm for ensuring investment gains are shared not just among management shareholders, but rather among all employees that contribute to the success of their company came through in this presentation. We believe it's the right thing to do for team members, for society, and for shareholders. Private equity for greater good has proven to be a pragmatic and easily repeatable framework to achieve our collective goals. Thank you all for joining us.